Matt, I'm going to start with you. I want you to give me your one bold statement about the NFL draft.
About the NFL draft in general?
Yeah. It could be about the Packers. It could be whatever it is. I mean, your bold statement. You watch the draft. Give us your bold statement.
My bold statement, and I'm going to make it about the Packers draft, super chalky. Exactly the position groups you'd expect them to take, about as safe as a draft you could possibly go out there. There was no chances being taken. We did in the third round took a running back. But right now we have thunder in the backfield. So we needed somebody with a little more agility back there. I just think this was
You're talking about Marshawn Lloyd. I don't even know if he's that much of lightning as well, but he's probably more lightning than A.J. Dillon. He kind of gives off, he kind of had a comp to Josh Jacobs, which could be good in the long term, but it is interesting. He's not necessarily the complimentary back.
He's 220 pounds, runs a 4.46, so he's speedy, but he is a bigger back.
Josh Jacobs is which is a hell of a comp. If he turns out to him, that's a home run.
So, just for the most part, I feel like Goody just put on, an AI and was like, draft for me. These are my positions of need. And then the AI just took what they thought was best available. It was so chalky. There was no splashes. Trading back to get a couple more in later round. Wow, thanks, man. Why couldn't we have gone up and got somebody, shock the world, take a wide receiver, take Xavier Worthy.
Quinyon Mitchell's the best cornerback. Here's the one thing I'll tell you about, if you wanted to be upset with the Packers, I think in prime
I'm not upset, but I'm not excited about it either. That's my problem with it. It was just meh. They might as well have just taken the next best available and not even showed up to the draft. Don't even go to Detroit.
So your statement is that you feel like Goody just set his top 50 and it's auto draft.
Yeah, basically the same thing I do when I draft a fantasy football team. Just okay, I'm gone. See you guys. Thanks for inviting me, and just don't show up at all.
There you go.
Go live your life. Goody must have had dinner reservations at Applebee's in Green Bay and decided not to go to Detroit in general.
I'll say this. The one guy that I think, I mentioned Quinyon Mitchell, but Terrion Arnold, I think the Lions scooped him from the Packers. I think if you had a real board for the Green Bay Packers, because Terrion Arnold, by some accounts, was the second best defender. Some had him as the first best, maybe third best defender. Picked one pick in front of the Green Bay Packers, and the Lions traded up in front of the Packers to get him. Cornerback is unquestionably a position in need, I think. Regardless, you could use depth there, even if you believe in Valentine or whomever else is out there. And Jair Alexander is not the most reliable person, so I do think that could have been a pick there for the Green Bay Packers. But here's my bold statement, and you can chime in, 844-770-3776. You can text in that same number. What is your bold statement coming away from the NFL draft? My bold statement is that the Chicago Bears, their draft will be a historic draft for the Chicago Bears franchise. And I'll tell you what that means. Because here's what I feel very confident about.
It can go two directions.
Right, but it can go two directions. It's not a high bar to clear, but Caleb Williams will go down as the most prolific passer in Chicago Bears history. Right now, that is Jake Cutler with essentially 24,000 yards passing and 154 career touchdowns. There's never been a quarterback in Bears history that has thrown for 4,000 yards in a season and 30 touchdowns. Either one of those things. Caleb Williams is going to do both next year. And then the other part of it is Rome Odunze. They get the extra game now, so it's not that bold of a statement. Right. Rome Odunze is going to go down as the most prolific pass catcher in Bears history. Because right now that is Johnny Morris.
1950s.
Pretty close. 356 yards receiving for his entire career. 5,000 total career receiving yards.
5,025, right?
5,059. Don't shortchange Johnny Morris. And then 31 touchdowns.
What year was that?
The 60s. I think 60s.
It was the Super Bowl era.
Yes, it was. Well, here's the ironic part for the Chicago Bears. The wing T offense was invented by the Chicago Bears, and that kind of made the modern-day quarterback. And that's where you hear about Sid Luckman back in the day with the Chicago Bears.
Oh, yeah. You hear about Sid Luckman all the time.
They were the innovative team. Well, that's the only guy the Bears ever had. It's when you broke these records, it's Sid Luckman used to hold it back in, prehistoric times.
Caleb Williams is the new Sid Luckman.
You know what? That's not a high bar to climb. So it's not like I'm that bold of a statement.
No,
I'm just saying that Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze will break every important passing record for the Chicago Bears during their time with the Bears. I don't know what that means for wins. I don't think anything else. But my bold statement is Caleb Williams will go down as the most prolific passer in Bears history, and Rome Odunze will go down as the most prolific pass catcher in Bears history, which is a little bit dicier because DJ Moore is still under contract. He already has 1,000-some-yard head start on him.
Right.
But I do think that's my bold statement. 844-770-3776 is how you get into the show. Rip and Rona chimes in. Bold statement, Edgerrin Cooper will be the first Pro Bowler from the last 2 drafts. I'll tell you what, Rip, that Edgerrin Cooper pick, the middle inside linebacker from Texas A&M, that might have been the best pick the Green Bay Packers made the entire weekend. Prime?
So we did prospect him and prospecting the Packers in the lead up. Now he and Javon Bullard were the 2 guys.
Texas A&M or Texas?
Texas A&M.
Okay.
He's Texas A&M. Inside linebacker. He one of the only players in the entire college football to lead his team in tackles for loss, forced fumbles, and sacks last year. Now, my only worry about him is his scouting profile just sounds a lot to me like Quay Walker. He kind of gets lost a little bit while trying to make tackles. Doesn't always fit plays perfectly. Just kind of feels like a rangy athlete. Maybe not the great compliment for Quay, but maybe just 2 thumpers who can play alongside each other.
Yeah.
Could be a great dynamic duo. Pro Bowler? We'll see.
I'm hoping this new defensive coordinator is going to be able to actually teach some guys on where to be. We've got some really young, Quay Walker, love him or hate him, the guy is a physical freak.
Yep.
He is capable of being one of the best inside linebackers in the league. Probably moving outside, though, like I think you were saying. Right?
Yep.
He's probably going to move outside, but he could be one of the best linebackers in the league purely off his, physical ability alone. So, maybe if he's coached up a little bit and our new DC is, the guy. I do like where we're sitting at linebacker right now because I don't hate Quay Walker. He's a hothead. But if he can rein that in and really use his athleticism with his head, I think he can be a really dominant guy in the Packers defense.
I don't know enough about Cooper to say this confidently about him, but for Quay Walker, I think the bigger knock on Quay Walker is that he doesn't seem instinctual.
Right.
He's super athletic, but the actual instincts of just playing football. And if you played a sport, there's just some people out there when you watch them, you're like, they just feel the game. You just know where everything's going to be, and it doesn't mean Chris Borland would be the example of instinctual. Or I'm trying to think of some of the best Packers players on defense: Charles Woodson, Micah Hyde, instinctual. They just knew where to be all the time. It never felt like they were ever out of place. And that at Quay Walker, he's got a lot of athleticism, but the instincts just don't. And I think that's not even a smarts thing. That's not even a studying thing. I think that's almost
Who's the guy that followed AJ Hawk?
Blake Martinez?
Blake
or
Martinez.
Maybe Jake Ryan was kind of in that mix?
Blake Martinez, I thought, was pretty, I don't think he had all the physical attributes you would need, but I felt like he made up for it with, field smarts.
He always racked up tackles.
Right.
So he was always in the right spot, apparently.
Right, and that's kind of what Jim's getting at. That's instinct, knowing where the play's going to go.
The Yard Possum chimes in. Sid Luckman was so long ago they played 10 games a year. I don't even know if that's true or not, but I'll take you up on it.